If you'll be driving in Rogers today and don't want to get caught up in a construction jam, listen up.
Yeah, traffic changes will start today as crews begin reconstructing an intersection near the Walmart amp. Let's go out live to 5 News reporter Jacob Luthi with the latest on this. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Joe. Good morning, Tiffany. Look, this intersection right here is already busy, right? We are right next to businesses. We are right next to restaurants. Topgolf is right there. We also have the Walmart amp right to our right here. And this is the intersection that we're talking about. And the city says that they actually spoke with some officers who patrol this area during busy events like concerts. And they say that they think that improvements to traffic and safety will help make and benefit this area drastically. Now go ahead and take a look at your screen. This is where we're at right now. It's on the intersections of Northgate, Champions Drive, as well as JB Hunt Drive. Now improvements will include a raised intersection, a new 4-way stop, narrowed crossing distances, and stamped concrete patterns designed to slow traffic and make people aware that there's going to be a lot of people here in this area. Now again, the roads and this intersection will be closed for the next 3 months. The city of Rogers says the intersection is being rebuilt with a strong focus on that pedestrian safety and traffic control. Now, detour signs will be in place during construction, and drivers are encouraged to plan alternate routes and allow for additional travel time during the closure. 5 News spoke with some commuters about the changes. This is what they had to say.
I could see it helping. I've seen some places where stuff was like raised and people didn't really slow down all that much, but I definitely think it could help.
I could see how it could be beneficial to slow down traffic whenever it's like a concert day or something like that, because it could be dangerous. But as somebody who needs to quickly go through the area, it could be troublesome whenever I'm trying to travel between places.
Now, again, the city says that the closure will be happening for 3 months. They, again, encourage drivers to think of alternate routes, to think of maybe giving yourself a little bit more extra time. Again, this is busy, even just a normal day-to-day commute. I'll go ahead and send it back to you.
All right, thanks for that, Jacob. 6:34 on this Monday. Former Northwest Arkansas psychiatrist Brian Hyatt is set to return to court today for a mental status fitness hearing. He was arrested in 2023 on 2 counts of Medicaid fraud, charges to which he has pleaded not guilty. Hyatt is also named in more than 200 lawsuits that allege he unlawfully abused, coerced, and held patients against their will in order to receive additional money from Medicare. Over the weekend, an Arkansas judge had ordered Hyatt involuntary committed to a treatment center for mental health issues. That was actually in the summer. Court documents show a report on Hyatt's mental examination will be discussed during the hearing in Pulaski County today.
Well, a school bus crash in Hinesville over the weekend sent 5 people to the hospital. It happened Saturday afternoon at the intersection of 412 and Highway 45. State police say a Mountain Home school bus collided with a Mini Cooper. That bus had 16 band students on board traveling back from a band event. 3 of the children were taken to a Springdale hospital, along with 2 adults who were in the other vehicle. They are all expected to make a full recovery. Well, today, crews are set to start rebuilding Bricktown Brewery in downtown Fort Smith. They'll commemorate the start of construction with the ceremony at 3 p.m. The building was destroyed by a fire back in 2024. Renderings show the restaurant and bar will occupy the first floor. The upstairs is also planned to, once again, serve as an event space and will continue to be called Adelaide Hall. Developers say that the new building will be designed to resemble the original structure, which was built back in 1871. They did not announce a date to reopen, but owners in the past have said that they have plans to reopen in January of next year.
President Trump says he's weighing possible military strikes and other options against Iran, which comes days after he warned that the U.S. would get involved if Iran killed anti-government protesters. U.S. activists say more than 500 protesters have been killed in violence surrounding the demonstrations. An Iranian lawmaker has threatened to retaliate against U.S. military assets in the region if the U.S. strikes.
If they do that, we will hit them at levels that they've never been hit before.
Well, this as diplomatic sources say U.S. and Danish officials are expected to meet Wednesday to discuss President Trump's push to acquire Greenland from Denmark. And demonstrators took to city streets over the weekend to protest the shooting death of 37-year-old Renee Good. She was killed by an ICE agent last week while driving her SUV down a Minneapolis street. State officials in Minnesota say they want to be part of the investigation looking into Good's death, but the White House says the case will be investigated exclusively by the FBI. On CNN's State of the Union, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said ICE is doing its job.
This individual, as you saw in the video that we released just 48 hours after this incident, showed that this officer was hit by her vehicle. She weaponized it, and he defended his life and those colleagues around him and the public.
Well, according to the Department of Homeland Security, more than 2,000 immigration arrests have been made in Minnesota since the enforcement operation began in December.
Well, the Department of Homeland Security filed a new rule requiring 7 days notice for congressional visits to ICE facilities. This despite a federal court balking a similar policy just last month. Democratic lawmakers, including Representative Omar, have been barred from visiting ICE facilities in Minneapolis.
What they are doing is creating confusion, chaos, trying to intimidate people from being able to exercise their regular, normal activities.
Organizers say more than 1,000 anti-ICE demonstrations were planned nationwide over the weekend. Well, in Bentonville, demonstrators held a protest outside the Benton County Jail, calling for accountability and change in immigration enforcement. It drew in more than 100 people.
And we're here to peacefully protest the violence that's been directed against our country by other Americans. And I hope it helps Congress to realize that they need to take their power as a co-equal branch of the government.
Indivisible Northwest Arkansas says that the turnout was much larger than they expected.
The Department of Justice has opened an investigation into the Federal Reserve's renovation of its D.C. headquarters, accusing Fed Chairman Jerome Powell of lying to Congress when he testified before the Senate Banking Committee last June about the cost of said renovations. Now, Powell says the threat from the Justice Department is more about disagreements that he has with President Trump over lowering interest rates.
The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation.
The price tag on the renovations is about $2.5 billion.